there, Matthew.
Hi, Catherine.
You've been looking at the effect of the US government shutdown on the markets and investors.
That's right, and they've been pretty calm and collected about it all, and that's probably because investors are assuming, hoping that this shutdown won't last too long, in which case it won't have a huge effect on the economy. In fact, there's something more worrying coming down the pipeline. That is this debt ceiling we've been talking about, the 16.7 trillion limit on borrowing, which the government says needs to be raised by the middle of October. Otherwise, the US could start to technically default on its debts. Well, this trader explains why investors are nervous.
Most investors are on the sideline because 17 days from now, there could be a big market mover, and that's the debt ceiling. So that's what everybody's watching, because if they don't get that together, that could be chaos in the bond markets.
Well, that's a trader giving his view. One other commentator put it in more colourful language, perhaps. This is the former ambassador from the US, John Huntsman. He said the debt ceiling is a thermonuclear explosion compared to the hand grenade of the shutdown. Well, here's how that hand grenade played out in the US markets on Tuesday. As you can see, they all made some gains, particularly the Nasdaq there. In Asia, we've seen a mixed picture. Now, the mainland Chinese market, so the Shanghai Composite, we won't see because there's a public holiday there. Now, look at the Nikkei, though, down 2.4%. What's going on there? Strengthening yen hurting stocks. Well, let's stay in Japan, where the country's biggest electronics fair has opened its doors to the public. It's the place to see the latest in high-tech gadgets, and Oliver Farry has been taking a look.
It's Japan's annual consumer electronics show, and one of the big technologies being showcased this year at CEATEC is an autonomous drive car by Nissan that aims to take the strain off tired or distracted drivers.
The idea is to show that the car can drive itself, but we also want to demonstrate that in the future we will create more technology that will assist drivers and prevent them from making the mistakes caused by tiredness or not paying attention.
Japanese tech giants are already planning on ways to cash in on the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. These smart glasses use camera technology to scan and translate text into the language of the user's choice, something the developers think will be of use to visitors unfamiliar with Japanese.
During the Olympics in Tokyo, lots of people are going to be interested in Japan. And more people are going to come here. These translating glasses will be a useful tool for these visitors.
CEATEC also showcases new developments in everyday technology, from the latest 4K high-definition TVs to wafer-thin speakers that are considerably louder than they look.
Very interesting gadgets on display there. Well, let's take a look at some more of the day's company news. And the British supermarket group Tesco has agreed a €410 million joint venture in China. It's joining forces there with the state-owned China Resources Enterprise. Now, Tesco's 134 stores and its 11 life space shopping malls, as they're called, will be merged into the 3,000-strong chain of Vanguard stores, which are owned by China Resources. Tesco itself will own 20% of that joint venture.
In retailing news here in France, another store has decided to scale back its opening hours. The Monoprix supermarket chain says its shops will now close by 9 p.m. 94 outlets will be affected. Monoprix is the latest company to back down as unions push back against late night hours and Sunday opening.
And staying in France, Air France-KLM is open to merging with the struggling Italian carrier Alitalia. That's according to the company's chief executive, Alexandre de Juniac, in an interview with the French business daily Les Echos. Alitalia's strength in Africa and America could be a useful addition to its existing network, he says, but Air France will place strict conditions on any deal. It currently owns 25% of Alitalia.
Okay, well, we're going to talk now about one of the most iconic buildings in the world, an integral part of the New York skyline. Matthew, you're talking about the Empire State Building. We can actually get our hands on a little bit of it, as
That's
in
right.
it's selling off some of its bricks and mortar,
That's
perhaps?
right. I'm not sure if you can bring the bricks home, but if you'd like a little piece of the Empire State Building, from today you can get your chance because the company that owns it, there it is in all its glorious beauty, is listing its shares on the New York Stock Exchange. This is all according to the New York Times. The Empire State Reality Trust is the company, and it's pricing its shares at $13 a share, according to the newspaper. There's some archive pictures there because the building has been open. A bit of fun facts here since 1931. Look at those people working on it.
Oh,
I
it
think that's
terrifies
just
me.
incredible.
I actually can't look
to
at
watch.
it.
Well, the building's director now explains how the building came to be built. Let's take a listen.
The Empire State Building was at a center of a competition between John Jacob Raskin and Walter Chrysler back in 1929 about who's going to build the tallest building in New York City. And in 1931, May 1931, the building finally opened its doors, and it became really an icon, a worldwide icon, and remained the tallest building from 1931 to 1972.
Lovely view there from the top of the Empire State Building.
Absolutely gorgeous. Thanks very much for rounding off the business news with that, Matthew Warren. We'll be back a little bit later on with more business for you. Here on Live from Paris, it is time now, though, for web news. And as with our news bulletins, the US government shutdown is dominating headlines on the net as well.
The Department of Agriculture, the E-Verify Employment Eligibility Programme, and also the US Postal Service Office of Inspector General. These federal services websites have shut down as 800,000 federal government workers were sent home on unpaid leave this Tuesday after Republicans and Democrats in the US Congress failed to reach an agreement on a spending bill. The US administration's partial shutdown has impacted numerous websites, some of which are now hardly functioning at all. A message on the US Department of Defense's welcome page, for example, explains that updates will be